now I'm kind of shifting gears, and one of the things that I know that you've had reach outs and people have talked to you to promote a schedule so that kids could participate in both soccer and hockey in the fall season. Maybe you can shed some insight of A, how that collaboration came to fruition, and B, how it's working now that you're a few months into the season.
Sure. It really was, it was a bit of a grassroots movement. Both organizations had, crossover of membership, and those members were coming to both groups, and with frustrations a bit of saying, geez man, it's too bad that you guys don't coordinate your schedules at the very least and that type of thing. And we thought, you know what, there's no reason why we can't look at this. And we both had retention concerns, as we do, of where, how can we keep kids playing longer, that type of thing. And we'd also, each group would get frustration coming to us from our own coaches saying, well, usually it started from a negative perspective. Man, I got this kid and he thinks he could be a soccer player as well as a hockey player, and he's breaking our team rule of attending everything 110% because he's going to play soccer or whatever. And we'd have these conversations. Listen, coach, we want to promote these kids playing different sports because it's going to, we know the research that it's going to make them better in their primary sport, etc. So we were kind of dealing with that quite a bit. So anyways, we decided, let's give it a shot. Let's get together. And, we knew what our 5-year-olds were doing, what our 6-year-olds were doing, what our 7-year-olds were doing. Let's line that up with what they're doing. So when we actually sat down from the technical scheduling perspective, where we had our ice schedule, they had their field schedule, they had their programmer, we had our programmer, we pulled out the laptops and we started to work on it. It actually was way easier than we ever thought it would have been. Our thought would be, man, we're so constrained by ice time, and we've only got so many different spots we can put the kids in. And soccer, it's the same. They've got 4,000 kids in limited field space. This isn't going to work. And in reality, it was quite easy. One of the things that helped us from the hockey side was the move, which we'd already started a couple of years prior, to the cross ice, smaller ice format, because it allowed us to consolidate our one age group in 2 hours of ice time at a single location, rather than under the old method where we had them spread out over 5 different ice times in 3 different venues. So that certainly helped us with the scheduling piece. And the arena that we had them housed in was right near the soccer field, so you could actually do an hour of your hockey practice and head out to soccer without any issues once we got them lined up. So we were actually quite pleased with how quickly that was able to come together. So we put that piece together, and one of the keys to that was we also made a big announcement about it to our both memberships, to say, seek this out, take advantage of it, do play both sports. It can work. So that, I think that helped. And then the next piece for us was, because we could only really do the scheduling up to about, in our hockey terminology, Adam rep, for example. And
that's going to be my next question. To what age group is this going?
So for the soccer guys, it was kind of their U10, U11 scheduling, just because it becomes too busy, too many variables, that type of thing from just a head-to-head scheduling. So from there, we had to say, okay, we still want to achieve these goals of kids playing different sports and having access to the different activities. So then it became more of a how do we create a philosophy and work with our coaches to build in that flexibility so players could do that. So that became the next step, where we worked hard to educate our coaches and our parents that you can miss a hockey practice every once in a while to go to soccer, or vice versa. Or you can talk to both coaches and say, how can we make this work when we have a conflict on Tuesdays? Is it okay if we do alternating weeks and those sort of things? And we're able to kind of build that into things. And originally we thought there'd be some resistance, because those Adam rep hockey coaches, it's all the time, every time, and we get their counterparts in soccer too, where you'd have an old world soccer coach that soccer is everything, and they're this ownership piece the athletes, that this is my best player type of mentality, and we needed to break through that. And I think that's where we've made some real big strides. Now we're getting to the point where this season we had, coaches coming to us and saying, "Hey, I've got 3 soccer kids on my team. Are we able to change our ice time so that we can make it work better for them?" And we're like, "Yes, of course we can. We'll do our best to try and do that and make that work." So we've had some successes there already. The other piece is we did. We advertised it heavily and promoted it because we wanted the parents to also have some power in this, where if you were a parent of a multi-sport athlete, you were then, and the coach was maybe not as cooperative as we would like them to be, that parent is then able to go to that coach and say, look, it says right here in this press release that is working with soccer. Why are we not getting anywhere here? So it helped hold us and the coaches more accountable to that as well. So I think there's been some good success stories. There's, obviously still some avenues where we run into some resistance, but we've been able to develop through one of the people with the soccer partnership, who's a database engineer. We've been able to develop a database now where we can anonymously put in the registration data, just the pure numbers in each age group. They're playing hockey, they're playing soccer. He's also added a couple other sports, and our goal would be to grow that even more. So we can now see head to head where, there's 22 8-year-olds that are playing both hockey and soccer. We actually know where the numbers are, and we can track it over the years. And one of the interesting pieces is we were able to put in historical registration data going back several years, and we could actually start to see where we scheduled kids out of the sports. We'd have 22 6-year-olds that were playing both sports, and then when they got to 7, that number would be down to 4. And we'd look back and we'd go, why? Well, because they couldn't do both, because our schedules didn't align.
Yep.
So it was interesting to see that, like, we were kind of shooting ourselves in the foot unknowingly. So now we could be more proactive and say, if we know we have this many athletes at 6 or 7 that are doing both sports, let's track those kids over the next few years and keep continuing those opportunities for them to continue to do both sports for as long as they like.
So the two that are collaborating, soccer and hockey, the other sports that you kind of pigeonholed, which ones are they? Are you kind of?
Well, right now for the soccer guys, they're actually working with dance as well, because they're co-ed, and that's one where they have some
the girls, right?
conflicts, ironically, with the girls. But we're working on. We already work hard with our other spring sports here. And not so much collaborating on the scheduling, just because they don't overlap that much, but with our local lacrosse and baseball clubs, just in a promotional aspect of saying, hey kids, when hockey season ends, here's some great opportunities for you to play other sports and expand your horizons or whatever. And there was some resistance, not big resistance, but well, what if we lose those kids they become baseball players or lacrosse players or whatever? And we have to get beyond that piece. Obviously, be, hey, great, man. They wouldn't have known they would have been a great baseball player if they weren't exposed.
They didn't try it, right? Yeah.
How many great baseball players never get discovered or never develop their talents in baseball because they're playing hockey all the time?
The whole model with goes back to Wayne Gretzky and all the sports he played, and increasing his VO2 max because he's a cross country, but also baseball, lacrosse, a lot of stuff he could do. Sidney Crosby, a lot of stuff he does now because of the multiple sport. I could talk about 100 of them.
Yeah.
I can't talk about 100 single sport athletes because they usually burn out.
Yeah.
They get injured, or they're not developing the skills that'll help them be that athlete instead of that hockey player.
Yeah, for sure.